The Oakland A's last season had a record of 60 and 102 after their big sell off in the offseason, trading away all of their big players that are getting close to free agency. And they traded off even more guys this offseason, trading away Sean Murphy and, other guys as well. It's definitely been interesting. However, they do maybe have some bright spots, maybe. Who knows? We're going to cover them right here on this Oakland A's team profile. My name is Derek. I'm here with John, and let's get straight into it. As I said, 60 and 102 was the A's record last year. Wasn't a fun year to be an A's fan, and there was a lot of stuff coming out. Obviously, being in the Coliseum, it's not a great ballpark to be in, and just not a great year overall for the fans and for Oakland and the A's franchise as a whole. As their biggest moment last year was some stuff going on between a couple fans in the stands. If you know, you know. So yeah, not a great year for the A's, obviously. But who are their key players? Three key players for the A's next year, John. If you got one that you want to single out, who would that be?
I mean, this is a rough one because this is not a good roster. So for me, I'm going to go with the three players I know because they're all former Yankees. We're going to go with JP Sears, who Barnes and I both liked. He's not on the major league roster. He's projected to start the season in AAA. But Barnes and I both like this guy. He pitched really well for the Yankees. I think pitching out in the Oakland Coliseum, the friendliest park, probably the friendliest park in all pitcher friendly park in all baseball, could probably do all right. Then you have Ken Waldichuk, and I'm going to single out James Kaprielian just because he's really the only one with any major league experience. I think he's an okay pitcher. Unfortunately, he just pitches for the A's, so most people don't know about him, and he doesn't get a ton of run support.
Yeah. I mean, who's going to get run support with this A's team, honestly? Let's be honest. They trade away all their guys, and it's kind of rough. And they haven't gotten great returns in those trades either, for what most people have said. And that's my opinion, too. I don't think they've done very well in most of those trades. But yeah, they're key players. Ramon Laureano, he had that big year in 2019 with the juiced ball. Then he kind of popped for PEDs and a lot of stuff, and he hasn't been as good since then. So it's just like, okay, well, was it the juice balls, the PEDs? What's going on? And so, yeah, can he have any bounce out here? The defense is elite, but can he do anything? Who knows? I think Shailene Lears is key for them because he came back, I'm pretty sure, in the Matt Olson deal. And as a catcher, he's huge for them, but also, too, they have Tyler Soderstrom, the first-round pick, I think, in 2020, who's also a catcher waiting in the wings, could start the year in AAA. And so Shailene Lears is going to be huge because if he can't settle down that catcher position, he's got Tyler Soderstrom breathing down his neck, literally breathing down his neck. And obviously one could maybe move to first or one could move to DH or whatever, but that's going to have to be figured out in the near future. But Tony Kemp, he's my guy. If you've been watching Bleach Balls or you've seen this on social media, I want Tony Kemp on the Red Sox for so long. Even though, yeah, he's not left-handed hitter, Red Sox have so many left-handed hitters. I love Tony Kemp. Good defense at second base, solid contact hitter. If you get, the 2021 Tony Kemp version of Tony Kemp, that's a guy the A's flip at the deadline and they actually get something back for, and they could get a half decent return for him. So I'm hoping he has a very good year, gets dealt the deadline to a contending team that's not named the Yankees, because I love Tony Kemp, and as a Red Sox fan, I don't want to see him go there. But I would love Tony Kemp to be able to go somewhere where he can win. That's not Houston, because when he was in Houston, they had the whole sign stealing scandal. Although rumor is he actually didn't take part in it, which is part of the reason he might have got shipped out of town. But that's a whole nother story. But I hope for Tony Kemp that he does well and he can find his way onto a contending team. But with that, we've been talking about trades or whatever. The A's made some pretty big trades. They traded Sean Murphy in a 3-team deal, which they seemingly got the short end of the stick on by most people. And they traded away Cole Irvin, who was arguably their best starting pitcher. They traded him to Baltimore. They're just trading away everyone, I guess, except for Ramon Laureano, obviously, because I guess they can't find a trade for him. They made a couple free agent signings. They brought in Shintaro Fujinami from Japan, who's interesting, but there's long stories about him and how his career's kind of gone downhill a bit in Japan. That's kind of for another time, but their biggest move is the Sean Murphy deal. It's their biggest deal. It doesn't mean they did great on it, though. At least personally, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think back looking at the Sean Murphy deal, I'm kind of thinking of the movie Major League, where Rachel Phelps is trying to get like the worst players and like get rid of all her best players so the team can drop below a certain attendance in order to move. It makes it easier for them to move. Like, let's be honest, the biggest offseason move that the A's are going to have in the next couple of years is when they eventually move out of Oakland.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a bigger conversation for another time because I don't think they belong in Las Vegas because of Major League Baseball's history with gambling. I don't think they belong in Las Vegas. So I don't know where the A's end up, but I don't think they belong. They're going to stay in Oakland for long. And like I said, like the moves they made are making this is reminiscent of the movie Major League, and moves are being made by an evil owner trying to make the team worse.
Unfortunately, they don't have no Willie Mays Hayes or they got no Wild thing coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Like this isn't going to be a happy ending type of story. It's not. You're not getting your Hollywood ending out of this Oakland A's team.
Yeah, it's rough. And like, yeah, they do have some nice prospects kind of coming through the system, sort of, but it's like they traded away all these good players, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, even Frankie Montas and Sean Murphy, and overall, and there's more guys trades that they made. Overall, the return's been very underwhelming, and they've been going for guys where it's like, oh, we want high contact, like bat the ball guys, and it's just like those guys aren't like bringing the value, and it's like you bring in a guy like Asturi Ruiz, who like I think he's okay, but it's like contact guy, like not a lot of pop, doesn't hit the ball hard at all, and it's like he's got some speed, it's like solid defense, but it's like that's how much you bring in. Like a guy like Tony Kemp. I love Tony Kemp. He brings no power to the table, essentially, just a contact guy. Like, how many contact hitters are you gonna have in your lineup? Like, are you gonna hit 5 home runs next year as a team? What do you do? Like, I feel like that's what they're going, and it's just like you remember the A's teams, like I know you can really speak of the Moneyball A's, really, where they developed great talent too. You had all the movie Moneyball focused on like Scott Hatterberg and yada yada yada, but it's like they like Miguel Tejada, Eric Chavez, and Barry Zito and all those guys that were so good, and like they've developed talent in Matt Olson and Matt Chapman and Sean Murphy. They've developed all those guys, and so they can develop players, but it feels like they just can never get past a point where it's like they're actually good enough to do stuff. And like with their offseason moves, it's been very minimal in terms of adding to the team and gaining MLB talent.
Yeah, this team. Yeah, I mean, you said it. I don't know what else to say. This team just can't seem to figure it out. I don't think they're interested in competing until they've moved somewhere else. And I mean, again, this is a team with a heck of a history behind it. Like you mentioned Moneyball era. Like then there was like those late 80s, early 90s A's teams, which, McGuire and Canseco, that's their own thing. But, like, they were still really good teams to watch. There were other really good players on the team. Dave Stewart, Mike Moore, Bob Welch, Dennis Eckersley, Carney Lansford, Ricky Henderson, Dave Henderson. Like, those were some really good teams.
Early 70s, too.
Yeah, in the 70s, you had the 3P A's with Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin managing. Yeah. And then even going back, like the most interesting thing going on about the A's right now is if you go to their Wikipedia page and read the history of the athletics franchise, going back to Philadelphia, like we all know Connie Mack was the all-time winningest manager of all time. Part of which because he owned the team and managed them forever. But there's like a really interesting stories behind that of why he managed for so long and things that went into that. Yeah. There's interesting stories about Charlie Finley buying the team when they were in Kansas City and making this whole public display of how they weren't going to send their best players to the Yankees anymore, but then turn around and do exactly that. And like really read this Wikipedia page because it's very interesting because if you're an athletics fan at all or just a baseball fan, like this is the most interesting thing you're going to get out of the athletics.
Yeah.
And just last thing I want to do really quick. Luke, I did your sign at Luke, I was going to rip this sign down in the last minute, just have do-overs or for losers. This is your fault because you know what? You went on the podcast and you made this whole big display of how, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to make sure everything goes right. Bold, braggadocious talk. You're nowhere to be seen. If you were here, my plan would have got screwed up. I could have ripped this down at the end, and then it would have gone out. It would have been funny. But no, you ruined it, Luke, by not holding true to your word. So thank you. You ruined the big reveal I had at the end of this video. Back to the A's.
Yeah, I think to wrap it up, though, for the A's, it's definitely just continue their rebuild. It's continue the rebuild. Hope to start developing more talent. If they do get a move, let's say it's Las Vegas, whatever. Their AAA team's actually in Vegas. You get to move to Las Vegas. Hopefully, then that can maybe get the franchise heading in the right direction, hopefully. And they can bring up some talent, actually, and maybe start to spend some more money. Hopefully, that's the hope. But yeah, just continue the rebuild. Make sure to check out this is, I think, our second team profile. So there aren't going to be many in the playlist, but the playlist will be down there. So if you're a little late coming to these team profiles, they'll all be down there. Make sure to check out all our links to Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the crew's Twitters. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know for every post. Oakland A's fans, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on your franchise. And yeah, for John, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning into Bleacher Brawls, and we'll see you next time.